Today I'm going to explain to you how to use the sheet metal tools. Your project in the lab here is fairly simple. Understand, I'm not going to try to teach you how to be a sheet metalist. Alright? All I'm trying to do is teach you how to put together ductwork at 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon because you came up short on materials. That's what this is designed for. Plus, it's also designed to help you understand your tools. Alright? So the only way you can actually do this is to get down and right into it. This is what you're going to end up building here. Alright? It's a small section of ductwork. Alright? There's no reason to be building 10 and 20 feet of ductwork when all you're trying to do is understand how to join two pieces of separate ductwork together. One is going to be what they call the s-cleat. Alright, there's two of them, and that's what you're going to end up making, is two of the s-cleats. Then there are two things that are called the drive cleats. These go at the end, and this actually helps join the two pieces of sheet metal together, alright, as far as ductwork. Now, what you're going to end up getting is two separate 90-degree angle pieces. Alright, we're going to come back to these, but this is what it actually looks like in the classroom. In real life, they're 10 feet long, they're 90s, there's 45s, there's offsets, everything. But this is the basic setup. Alright, so we're going to come back to that here in a minute. You're going to come in the lab, be sure you have all your safety gear, glasses, good gloves. You're going to pick up the toolbox. Alright, the toolbox is pretty simple. It has everything in it. If you don't know where it's at, all you have to do is ask the staff or faculty and we'll get it for you. Alright, go to a workbench. It doesn't matter where you're at. Any size table will do what you have to do, even the new flip-ups. Then you want to start looking at, you're going to get your sheet metal, and listen, the gauges may differ because this is free, okay? So beggars can't be choosy. So sometimes there's really thin stuff and then there's sometimes mediocre stuff. You can, out of your toolbox, check it with the thickness plate. And the way to do that is just estimate what you think you have and then just start working your way down. Okay, there. So if I look at this, it's a 22 gauge sheet metal thickness because it won't fit in the one below it, and the next one that fits is 22. So this is a 22 gauge sheet metal. Let me go over a couple of tools with you. This is your sheet metal hammer. All right. It's in the toolbox, everything's in the toolbox. And again, just like everything else in this lab, if something's broken or missing, let me know so I can fix it for you. This is your little scribe. You don't use a hammer on this or anything. This is for light work, just scribing. You have different sets of cutting equipment. Alright, I just choose this one today to show you. Alright, but you have your left, your right, your straight cuts, and then you have the heavy-duty cutters. Ruler. This is a fold bender. Okay. It's nice to have because it automatically has the 1/2 inch and it has a 3/8 inch bend on it. And I'll show you how to use that here shortly. Then we have the hand bender or a little seamer where you can gradually work on things. Remember, this is the 5 o'clock. I'm out of materials. I have 1 or 2 more duct pieces to put together. I have some scrap and I can do it. That's why you need to know your tools. Not everything is going to come from the factory. And there's always going to be those all craps. Alright? Finally, we have the Milwaukee sheet metal cutter. You want to use that too, because we want to get you familiar with the tools. Not to become an expert, but to get familiar with it. Then over here we have our tape. Alright, you're going to use that. Then we have some dye, alright, and that just depends on, I'm going to use it to show you how to use it, but most people don't use it unless you're doing a big project, very detailed. And then we have what is known as the mucky puck. This is the sealer that goes around on your ductwork, alright. Remember, these tools are expensive, so please use care with them. So now the first thing that you want to do is go to your first project, and I think the first project is your s-cleat. Now, this isn't a science. We don't have all the fancy tools to do precise work, but what we do have is the basics, and this is what we're trying to get accomplished. So what you want to do is pick up your ruler and your stride, and your instructions, follow your instructions, and you want to mark off 1 inch, 2 inch, and 3 inch. All right. Then do the same thing on the other side. All right. 1, 2, 3. Then come across, and this is where, if you were doing detailed work, that you could put this red dye on. All right. Now, just for instruction purposes, I'll show you what this stuff is. Now, I have my mark, and I'm just kind of going along. Okay? Don't get this on your hands or on the clothes, because if you do, it's never coming off. Alright? Give it a second, let it dry. Then, go back to your mark, and it will come up, you'll see it a lot clearer. That's why people use it. Now, you don't have to put a lot of pressure on this, just scribe across it. Alright? Then what you want to do is you want to go down to your other 3 points. Okay? So, if you look at this, you have 3 individual pieces. Now, the next thing that you want to do, put your gloves on, because sheet metal will cut you, and being galvanized, it will burn. Alright? Take your cutters. Now, you can do it different ways, alright? I'm not going to tell you how to do it precisely as far as you have to do it this way. But what you want to do is you want to make a little nip right on that line. And I'll show you why. Alright? Just want to make a little cut in this thing. Do it on the other side. You get better results on this tool if you have it farther back in the back, alright? Instead of trying to do it right at the tip, if you open up the jaws, you get better results, I found. Alright? Now, those will all come into play later on. What I want to do now is, you can, this is totally up to you, but you can either use the hand operator ones or the power shears. In this case, I'm just going to do the hand operated ones right now, and in my next piece, I'm going to use the shears. So, now what I need to do is I need to follow my line. Okay? Now you'll see where it gets a little difficult at first to understand how to use the tool. Alright, be patient. You see how I'm kind of shoving it back as far as I can. And taking my time and lining it up before I try to cut. Oops. Now, what you can do is come over on the other side and operate from there. Remember, the thicker the metal, the tougher this is going to be. Now, just set this off to the side because you can use this later on. Now, you notice that when I was cutting, I made a little mistake there. Just try to trim that up, alright? Because it's going to be sharp. So you just want to try to alleviate that. Alright? If you have anything raised up, just take your hammer. Alright? Tap it down. Now, remember the little notches that we cut earlier? This is where this is going to come into play. Now, what I want to do is take my bender. In this case, I need the 1-inch bender. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that seamer right up against that line almost. Alright? And just push down gently. Alright? And because this is 12-inch and the bender is about 6 inches, it does it in a couple bends. Okay? Now, you notice I'm not forcing anything. I'm just taking my time. Alright? And I'm gradually working it back and forth until I have that 90 degrees. Now what you want to do is now keep working it over until you met 180 degrees. You'll see what I'm talking about with the S-clip if you're looking at your diagram. Okay? You can only bend it so far. Okay? Flip it over. Now, this is where you have to be paying attention. This is only one part of that S. If you bent it, the next bend has to go the opposite direction to make this work. Alright? Again, it's very stiff at first until you get it going. Once you get it across that little threshold, it's pretty simple. Oops. And try to stay above it so that you're not bending too much. This is why you want to be sure that you have plenty of equipment on site, because you don't want to be doing this all day long. It's a little manhandling. Now you want to get it down to a safe level. Then pick up your hammer and just gently, you don't have to manhandle this stuff. Gently bring it down. Try try to keep it even all the way across so you don't have big bumps in it. Alright, now do you see where that s-cleat is getting its name? Alright, it designs an S. Alright, backwards S. Or forwards S. Okay, so you can get either way. Then just do the other side. Alright, that's your s-cleat. Now, it isn't pretty. It isn't designed to be pretty. You don't have the proper tools to make it look pretty. Alright, but it can be time savings if you're on Friday afternoons trying to get out of there. Alright, so you're going to make 2 of these. Take your time, make 2 of them, and then set them off to the side. The next item that you're going to end up making is the drive cleat. Now, we're going back just the way we did before. And for training purposes, I think it might be better if I just paint this so that you can really see what's going on. Now please be sure that you have paper underneath your workstation. Alright? You can paint this whole thing. Alright? I think I got enough right there. Alright? Alright. So, you let that dry for a few minutes. So, now the paint dried and everything. What we're trying to do, and again, use common sense when you're working with this stuff. Alright? If you're not cutting, you don't really need to have your gloves on. But we want to mark it off at about 3 inches. Alright? Both ends. Remember I told you that the last time we did it by hand. This time we're going to use the machine. Alright, so there's my scribe. I don't have a real big problem. Now what you need to do is, and there's electrical outlets all over this place. But let me show you something, because most people don't pay attention to this right away, and it comes back and gets them later. Okay, now when you go to cut this, if you see that there's like a little wobbling tongue right here, that's the cutting edge. Well, when you put it into your sheet metal, be paying attention of what side that cutter's on, because that's going to take out 1/4 of an inch of your metal. Alright? So in this case, I'm going from the bottom to the top, so I want my cutting edge on my left-hand side. Now, remember I said back to common sense, so I'm cutting. Even though it's a machine, I need to have my gloves on because I'm going to hold the scrap metal. Alright? Now, if you've never used this, what you may want to do is come over and grab a hold of this down here. Now, keep your fingers out of the way, but slide it up inside the channel and then just start cutting. Alright? Now, get used to this, okay? And it'll come out just like that every time. But remember, that's that 1/4 of an inch I was talking to you about. So now, get it together, match it up. You know, and in this case, if you're off a little bit, we're not worrying about this. Now if you notice, sometimes you got to put it on the back of the heel and move it around just gently. And then just follow it through. You notice that I kind of put it back on its heel. That helps it out a lot. Alright? So, now, don't throw this away because this still can be used for scrap or other screws. The small stuff always goes in our sheet metal bin outside. Now, remember I told you that what you're going to do is fold this stuff over. Alright? As you can see on your blueprint, what you need to do, the very first thing after you cut it, is come to the corners, pick a spot, and cut about 45-degree angle off. Alright? 45-degree angle. The reason this does that, or you need to have that, is because it's a dry cleat. So you're trying to put two pieces together. Alright? And with that angle, it helps when you're forcing this onto the unit. Okay? Now, I got my four corners, I'm all laid out. Now, this is where this tool comes into play. My seamer, I can just now, because I need a 1/2 inch, I know that this is set at 1/2 inch. Slide it right up in there, okay? You can start at one end or in the middle, it doesn't matter. Bring it down, okay? Keep it tight, and now, using finger strength, just roll it over, alright? Again. Now this time, not like the S-cleat, a dry cleat, you're bending both of them in the same direction. And again, take your hammer, come back, and just gently beat down on it. Alright? You don't want to close this up because this is what's going to put together your two pieces of sheet metal. Okay? Now there you go. Alright? Again, you're going to build two of these. Alright? For this demonstration, I'm only building one because I'm going to just show you how to put all this together. Plus I'm getting old. Alright, so anyway, here we go. You got your two pieces. Oops. Gotta be smarter than the equipment you're working with. Alright. What you want to do is, there's this lip in here, alright, that this fold down piece is going to slip into. Now, it isn't going to just drop in there by itself. You're going to have to use a little finesse and just tap it down. Alright? Don't get crazy with the hammers. Alright? Then come over and do the other side. And again, just gently tap it on there. There. Okay? Now you notice that you got some sort of a lip on this. Okay? Alright. Now all I want to do is just gently hammer that over. And you notice how I'm using this hammer. Alright? I'm pulling it, kind of striking it across and bending it over. Alright? I've seen it. I like it this way. It just works better for me. But you notice I'm not getting it all in one shot. So you should end up with a box, hopefully. If not, go back to step one. All right. Now this box here is set off into the classroom, so just ask and we'll show you where it's at. The thing that you got to understand is you may start building the new box, or you may have it already 5 feet tall, so either way it doesn't matter. Now this box fits over this box just like that. Alright? Pretty simple, but it's really hard when they start coming in 10-foot sections and you're trying to do this. Remember the S-cleat, okay? The S-cleat. Alright? This is what's going to join these two pieces of flange together. So, I take this off and I just set it back and I set down my S-cleat. Alright? In some cases, when you get it out of the shop, you may have to use a hammer to hammer it down a little bit. But again, tap. Don't go crazy. Okay? Now, this is where it becomes fun. Alright. There's something wrong because it worked too easy. Okay, so, therefore, there's my S-cleat, and now it has the other half of the box in it. Alright? But then you have to do your other side. Now, what I suggest that you do, of course, is do both of them at the same time. Alright, when you're trying to put the top on, because you're going to have to maneuver that around. Alright? But that's the S-cleat, and that's what it's designed to do. Alright? The drive cleat. The drive cleat is going to put, you see where these seams are, alright? And you notice how this slides over that, okay? Now, remember you're using 2 of them because one for each end, alright? Now, because I only have one S-cleat, mine isn't really level yet, but I'm going to walk you through what you would be doing here. Your S-cleat is in place, and now you take the hammer and bend over both ends. Now, this thing isn't going to come apart. Alright? It's almost impossible. Alright? If you ever seen buildings when they collapse, most of the ductwork isn't still connected. Alright? It might be bent, but it's still connected. Alright? So that's what you're going to end up doing. Now, what I want to do now is just get my tools out of the way so I can show you what the last step is here. Alright? Now we have our finished ductwork. Alright? Yours is all put together. You've had it checked by the instructor. Please do that. Alright? You want to have it square and level. Now what you got to decide is, how am I going to put this together? Tape it, finish it off. Alright. Now, the rules are, you're going to use the tape on one side and one end. The other side and the other end, you're going to use mucky puck. Alright? Hooky puck. Whatever they want to call it out there these days. But what I'm going to show you is how to use both of them. You don't want to put mucky puck over tape. Alright? Not going to work real well. You notice how the student did it on this one. This is precise. What he did is the first piece of tape goes right over the center. Right like that. Okay? Once that's down and you pushed it down and seamed it, then you want to put another strip halfway over the center. Alright? And then the last piece is halfway over the center on the opposite side. Now, for demonstration purposes, I'll just show you how this stuff works. This is the approved method of doing this. Anything else, you're just kind of doing a cheap imitation. So, I'm going to just go back over to this student's area. And let's just say that I've pulled it all off. And I highly suggest, if you've never used this stuff before, take a little time and get familiar with it and work it in. Take the tape off a little bit at a time, because if you pull it off too far, especially over big things, it just rolls back up and you've got a real mess on your hands. Alright? So now I've taped my first seam. Alright? Now, I take another piece. I pull the backing off. And remember I told you you're going to go halfway over. Alright? Fold it down. Press it in. Normally, this is done for inside areas. And that's why you want to try to make it look neat. But a lot of contractors, if they're doing it in commercial training, commercial buildings, they use the mucky puck because they can control the paint joints a lot better. It makes it look a lot more professional, especially if it's going to be out in public, where a lot of the ductwork is now. Okay, and it's paintable. Now you can't pull this up if you make a mistake, but try to avoid that at all costs. Okay, now there, doing it this way versus what this student did with only one piece, there's absolutely no chance that that's going to leak over a long period of time. Alright? Now, let's talk mucky puck. Again, don't put it over tape. It just peels off after a while. This is how it has to be done. And you notice how they fill the joints. Alright? Those joints have to be filled. Alright? This is watertight. Alright? This isn't going anywhere. Okay? Alright. Now I'll just show you a little bit. The other secret that I want you to know is that for some reason our paintbrush has disappeared. This is water soluble until it hardens up. So wash the paintbrush out in the back and dry it off a little bit, and then put it back on the wire. Now, what I did not know this until I accidentally stumbled on it, but if you leave this out in a unconditioned area for, let's say, 3 or 4 months, and you've used it and you open it up, stand back, because this stuff just reeks. Right? That'll give you a gag for your money. Put a gob on. Now what you want to do is you want to make it look professional. Alright? So just start off forcing that mucky puck into that. Now you can use different size brushes. Alright? But you need to be sure that you're shoving that up in there so you got a good seal. Because the less work you have to do now, no callbacks. Alright? You can do that and it makes it look professional, especially if it's outside. Now, once you got it done, then I'd go back and I coat it. Do not, this is one time that you want to be sure that you're using plenty of material. Alright? And remember, it may take a little bit of patience and time to do this, all right? But if you run through this, and this is showing up on the house outside, and it looks like crap, the owner is going to take one thing in the sequence here, and he's going to think that if that looks like crap, what's the rest of it look like? So please take your time and do it professionally. Let it dry. This stuff, probably, if you do it at your house, look at your house. Go back and do it every 5 years. Just put a thin coat on there, and you're never going to have any problems with it. All right? Okay, now that concludes this portion of the training. Again, wash the paintbrush out. All right? Scrape the bucket so we get all the stuff down in there. All right? And then just wash it out. And put the cover on there firm, okay? And then put all the tools back and show your instructor and the lab techs, and they'll evaluate it, all right? Because if you don't do this right, we'll just have you do another one, and you'll keep doing it until it's correct. So please take the time. If you don't understand what you got to do, ask somebody, or go back and view the video, all right, CD. All right, hopefully there's no questions, but if there are, come on out, let us ask a question, and we'll answer it for you to the best of our ability. And have fun with it, because you need to know how to use the tools to make the job a lot easier on you.